Welcome once again to the Success Magnet Coaches series. We're so excited to really listen to some great inspiration from Rakes Khullar, and she is all the way from London. You can tell us a little bit more about that. How actually did you get into coaching, and what inspired you? What is your favorite way to coach people? I'm so excited to learn about a little bit more about you and your practice.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Dr. Laurett, for having me on today. Wonderful to be on this podcast. So, yeah, I mean, where would you like me to start?
Well, and I know that you have certifications in a number of different areas. So you have the adult chair, there's Jungian theory. So I'd love to delve into a little bit on how you've worked with some of your clients, maybe a heartwarming story about one of the clients that you've worked with, how their life has been transformed through some of the concepts that you've been able to share with them.
Amazing. Well, I would say I first started coaching really literally with myself because I come from a teaching background. So I actually had my own little identity crisis when I was about 31 years old, when I had my own son. And so I remember looking out the window thinking, oh my God, who am I? What do I like to eat? I don't know what my, joyful, what I love to do. I had forgotten about all of that because I was just looking after this beautiful baby. And I just felt really unhappy within myself. And so I think that's really where the self-inquiry, the compassionate self-inquiry started for me, of really looking at, what brought me happiness and what didn't bring me happiness. And what I very quickly came across was the fact that my parents had given me this script to follow and said, if you do this, you will be happy, if you will be successful. So I had my house, I had my car, I had a teaching job, a role, and now I was a parent. But really who I was inside was trapped. So what I just started to do was read all these books and really just look at some of the creative exercises that they would do and really went on this path to dig deeper. And then I went into full-time therapy in 2012 and I carried on. But what I was finding was that in therapy, the therapist will meet you where you are. And then just really, you just get to learn of what had happened to you and why you are the way that you were. So it was only until the year 2020 when I had come across Michelle's books with a friend who said, oh, you must listen to her podcasts. And when I started listening to her podcasts, they were so practical. It was just simple psychology. Um, and it was just very easy to adapt and learn about defense mechanisms and, having empathy for yourself and self-care and, learning deeper and deeper about who you were and what you were meant to do in the world. And so when I read her book, that was life-changing for me. And then I decided, as well as having a skill in teaching, I want to have a skill in coaching because I had worked so many years, with myself and really getting to a point where I was award winning at this point in my old job. So that's what happened for me. I did her accreditation. I became a master coach, and I actually do work for the adult chair as well. So now I'm helping other people that are, want to become coaches to help other people in the world, and taking them through the certifications and accreditations. And so alongside that, I've carried on with my own practice and my own skill setting, and I've done many accreditations in Jungian psychology as well, but again in the coaching field. So I can talk about that a little bit more, and also in the archetypal family field. So really looking at the family system that we were born into, and then also some Reiki as well, some beautiful energy work to help heal
Oh,
that are
wow.
trapped in
So
the body.
you're so multifaceted. So the Reiki, that is something that you can send healing really throughout the world. What I've learned about that type of healing is that you're tapping into energy, right? So please tell us a little bit about that and the Jungian therapy. You say Jungian, which a little bit of it. Yeah, so thank you. And I love that you saw the difference between just therapy, a person who was kind of trying to get you to understand yourself, but really not having the solutions, and that you feel like as a coach, you can provide the solutions for people. Is that accurate?
Well, actually, what I do is through my coaching practice, the client gets to find their own solution. So it's like, I meet the client here, we do we do some therapy work and, really dig deep down and do some healing, and then we come back up again. And then it's really the question to the client, now that you know this about yourself, what are the steps that you could move forward? How would you do things differently?
Right.
What have you learned about yourself? So, what we're doing is we're transitioning into an old pattern that we were living and perhaps an old story or an old belief, and then really rewriting that and creating a new pattern for ourselves and a new story of where we want to go. So, a client will meet us here, but I will be finding out, where do you want to go? And it's filling that gap and going through that soul's journey of evolution to the part where they want to the person they want to be, essentially.
So now, how do you determine which methodology you're going to use or start with an individual? Like if I'm coming to you for the first time, how are you going to determine, I'm going to start with the adult chair, I'm going to start with the Jungian therapy, I'm going to do some Reiki. How do you go through that process with people?
Well, really, it's just finding out what brings them to coaching first and really what they want to work on and how they want to feel. Life is a feeling, and really, and that will give us the focus areas. So, my work is really just starts with self-awareness. And so, those modalities help me dip and dive creatively of where I'm going to navigate that client depending on their needs and wants and where they want to get to. So I
Great.
would say
Well,
I'm quite creative in my approach and quite creative. It's all experiential. The client gets to experience themselves in that beautiful sacred space that we create.
Well, you seem very positive to me. Like you have a positive mental attitude. Do you sometimes feel like some of your clients come to you with despair, they're concerned, they're upset, and that you're able to then bring them up and say, "Hey, if everything's going to be okay." It was part of your job as a coach? Tell me how you've been able to do that with somebody, one of the coaching clients that you've had.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of people from all over the world actually that come. I have in-house clients and obviously, clients online as well that they find me and they want to work with me. So it's really, sometimes they come with this dysregulated nervous system. So it's really just working with that because there's so many parts to us that come, our mind is thinking one thing, our body and behavior is displaying something else, our feelings are something else. And then there's a whole unconscious part that hasn't been explored. So sometimes when we're overwhelmed or there's stress, the nervous system has a big part to play in this. So it's really, I work with it somatically as well, of how we just really calm and ground that nervous system. So we neutralize everything. And that's when the client can then see where they're at. So, it's really looking at who's talking, what part of them are talking. And we're able to identify and work with that part and give that part the attention that it deserves and desires so that that part transforms.
Because I think sometimes people come to coaching like, I'm just a mess in every area of my life, come fix me, fix me, fix me. And as a coach that they need to fix themselves based on some of the things that you go through. But how do you, so again, you have all these methodologies that you're utilizing. And I'd love to hear a heartwarming story about somebody that they've chosen you because, obviously it has to be mutual. You want to coach them, they want you to coach them. Um, Tell me a little bit about maybe some transformation that you've seen, whether it's with yourself or, with one of your clients as well, just so that we can have a concept of how this works for you.
Sure. So one person springs to mind. I was working with the CEO of a company, And he was absolutely, award winning with everything that he did. So he had so many different avenues that he, had gone through on an international level. But when it came to him himself, he was a lost little boy. He was all stuck in this persona that how the world seed him. But inside of himself, he was unsure. He didn't know which route to take. He would be overworking. His life was totally out of balance. In fact, like his whole marriage was falling apart, and he was unable to know which direction that he would wanted to go into. So he just almost felt like that he was always carrying this big weight, and he didn't know what that weight was. So I remember literally him, he coming in, and I said, "Is that your backpack? Is this the kind of weight that you feel that you're carrying?" And he's like, "Yeah, a little bit more." So he shoved some more stuff in there, and I put it on his back. And I said, "Right, I just want you to wander around the room." And I was there as a stable witness, witnessing everything. And I said, "As you're walking around, I just want you to think about what weight is it that you're carrying in this backpack in your life? Like symbolically. Does that make sense?"
Yeah.
And so he was able to really look at that. And so creatively, I had lots of like A3 paper, and lots of different colored pens. And what he was able to do was, we're just going to start to unpack what's in this heaviness in this backpack of yours that you're carrying. So there he was able, using different colors, different parts of his life, the heaviness that he was carrying, the loads that had been there, some were passed on for many generations, etc., etc. So we were able to unpack all of those, but then really just focus on those areas because he used to come every single week. So we were looking at his life on a grand scale. So from there, we were able to then, we actually did some very lovely creative work of just putting doing a roadmap of two different roadmaps. So if he was to take this approach in his life and have this particular goal, what kind of challenges is he going to meet on the way? And what does that road look like and feel like? We're looking at the feeling and the thinking and the actions, the behavior that's going to get us there, right? And also working with the unconscious, what kind of surprises could come up? So we looked at that and we did exactly the same on the other route. So we're looking at feelings, thoughts, the goal, the behaviors, the unconscious that might come. And really, the client was then able to see which road he would like to take by just forecasting it. So I think that, working with me, we're able to explore, we're able to have a look, take a deep dive into possibilities. It's almost like a rehearsal before you go into real life. And we're able to do role playing as well, because I've done drama therapy in my life as well, where I've got an accreditation in that. So it's really interesting of how we can play different parts and rehearse that before we go into the real world, because we can have a little trial and error and a test of how it's going to feel, how's it going to sound like before we actually launch what we want to go into. So it's quite
Okay.
interesting.
Wow. Do you feel like people have to get rid of their deep hurts before they can progress? It sounds like you were working, like he, for example, is probably a bit of a perfectionist. I mean, he had this persona that he was promoting, and yet had all this baggage that you were helping him to release. So do you feel like people have to release some of that trauma, or is it kind of simultaneously progressing while you're releasing trauma? So tell me a little bit about how you work with that.
Well, yeah, just like you said, it's a transformational process. So most people will come in a transition. They're sick of doing whatever they've been doing, and they've really got to a standstill point in their life. And they're really reaching that next level. But before we reach that next level, sometimes we need to shed layers and shed skins and unpack and explore that and see what that is. And really look at it. Is this working for me? Do I just respect that and put that on the shelf and say, well, that's just something I could go back to? So the client really gets to decide with their material what they want to do with it, whether there is a bit of more healing and transformational work and breakthroughs that they need to do with that, or there's just something that they just need to just park on the side and give something else a focus. So it's really client led. my work. But also, it's very creative in the way that we navigate through it because all parts, we don't know who's going to show up, who's going to be speaking, what part needs what attention. And as we're going along in that journey, we're also discovering on the way. And that's just healing enough for the client to be in that space and actually realize, wow, there's so many parts to me. And perhaps some of these parts are the ones that I've neglected and over focused on some. So it's really, really allowing the client to be in check and balance, where they can actually have the lifestyle and have those feelings that motivate them for the life they deserve and desire.
So, Riggs, I really feel like that's something somebody cannot do by themselves.
Yeah.
Because they're just not a third party looking in saying, or well, second party or whatever, looking in saying, hey, do you recognize this is what's happening in your life? Because let me help you share what's going on. And it's like the epiphany going off. I don't feel like somebody can really do this on their own. And so that's where you as a coach comes in, and all the diversity of the different options that you're providing. That's incredible, really. So how do you use your Reiki in your practice?
Well, yeah, at the moment, I have actually just finished my level two, which I am able to practice. So, I haven't actually used that yet in terms of coaching. However, I go to these Reiki shares where people come off the street and you don't talk to them, and they just come in and they lie down, and by using the Reiki techniques and without speaking and high intuition levels, I'm able to sense with my hands of where perhaps the trauma or something that they're going through, and really through energy, because that's where the our practice comes in, and heal them. And then after the practice is over, I'm able to say to the client of what I felt, and what I sensed and where my hands were going. And it is unbelievable of some of the stories that have come. Like, I have been crying where I'm not emotional. And afterwards, the client have said that before they came, they parked the car, and they had to stop crying because there was something that they were going through in a relationship. My hands will go immediately to perhaps their leg side, and they were in an accident a year ago and their leg is still healing. So that is actually such a wonderful practice for a client that doesn't want to talk, that they've just come in and they've got a lot of stuff going on and they just feel that they just want to be in your presence and just want to be healed with energy. So, yeah.
I
So,
feel
but
like
it's
that's a
easy.
real, I feel like
Go
that's a
ahead.
real gift. I mean, I don't think that everybody has the ability to provide that kind of service. And maybe I'm wrong, but maybe it takes a certain type of person to be able to really transfer that energy or to feel that energy in other people. What kind of a person do you feel that takes to be able to do that?
I always felt that, I would be unable to help people if I was not able to help myself. And so
Mm.
I would say that I am my number one client. I am always clearing my stuff. I am always full. Like, I have lots of spiritual and meditation practices from 4 o'clock in the morning to 7. So I'm fully loaded for the day. Whoever I'm going to meet, whoever I'm going to coach, and help through, because my energy is on top form. So I'm able to do that. And I think that with all the things that I've gone into, I've had a particular interest in them. I am motivated and inspired by it. And I think that the minute that, people dry up with this or they just do this as a job, I don't see this as a job. I see this as a service to mankind. So this is my service to other people. So I'm
So
always topping up my skills and my energy levels and able to give my best to everybody else.
it's almost like you've already filled yourself up, so you're spilling over your energy to other people.
I'm not running on empty.
Right, and you eat your own cooking. So it's not like you're just, oh, well, I'm going to share with you this methodology, but I don't use it myself. Like you
Yeah.
literally are living, breathing your own methodology and recognizing the different parts because like when you're talking about the Reiki, that's like very it's almost like very spiritual, the energy that you're, helping people with. And then when you're talking about the adult chair model, that's more psychological, right? And then you have the Jungian theory as well. So it's touching all parts of somebody's life and helping them to create success. That's really what we're
Absolutely.
looking.
And it's really working with the unconscious, with the Jungian coaching. We're
Okay.
working with the unconscious. So, it's really putting the client in a state of active imagination where we can have that two-way conversation between the unconscious, the stuff that we've buried for many years that we've just thought that it's just not there, and really bringing that to light, bringing that to consciousness. Because once we do that, then we're more self-aware. We're able to know why am I the way that I am? What pattern am I following? And then doing some inner child work, and that's all experiential. So the client is getting to know all their parts and almost working backwards as well to figure out, where did this all start from? And how has my life led up to this point? And now that I know this is where I now have the power to change it. And I think that's where it is, where the client can really see where they've given their power to other people or situations or circumstances, and really getting that power back, working with the archetypes and the unconscious and the psychology of themselves to move forward. And they're learning at the same time as well. So it's just wonderful. And I give all my clients their homework as well. So they really, whatever they're learning in session, they're able then to do that and integrate those practices when they see me for the next time. So they're making progress at every step of the way.
Well, I see you as a very holistic coach that, it's not cutter. Whoever's coming to you is going to get very individual attention, and you're going to be able to pull out, where are these challenges? Let's bring them to the awareness. Wow, it's been so enlightening to be able to share information with you, and just, I feel like I'm fed. Uh, from everything that you shared with me, with the way that you're working with people. And I would just really encourage people who are listening about Rakes here. She has got the methodology that can help you to really go to the next level in your life. And if you've got concerns or despair, or you're, perfectionist, and you're concerned about, how am I going to get through this part of my life? I've got problems in my health, my relationships, my spirituality. I feel like Rakes, you're the answer. Like, you can help them come up with their answers. So,
Absolutely. The power's within themselves and it's drawing it out. I'm just going
yeah.
to be that mirror and
Yeah.
facilitate that experience for them.
Yes. Well, I want to thank you so much for not only being here with us, but creating yourself to the point that you can be an effective and wonderful coach for people to help them to help themselves as well. I think that's what it's all about. So we're really thrilled to have you as part of the Success Magnet community and of coaches, and I would encourage people to reach out. We've got, websites and all kinds of interactional materials that Rakes has come up with, and so please move forward and learn more about her and how she can help you. All right, have a wonderful
Thank you
day.
so much for having me.
You're
Thank you, Dr.
welcome.
Bye
Take
bye.
take care. Bye now.